President J.D. Vance reportedly planned to hold a strategy dinner with high-ranking Trump officials to discuss their handling of the Jeffrey Epstein crisis, but changed those plans after Backlash. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but Donald Trump clearly has no interest in doing the job of president, like he likes the perks of the job, like the free house and the immunity from prosecution, but he doesn't seem to know, or care, what his own administration is doing on a daily basis. He's more interested in pursuing his true passion, interior design. The president has taken great interest in renovating the White House, and the latest renovation is the East Wing. He's talking about constructing beginning in September, a 90,000 square foot ballroom. It is the new State Ballroom, and you can see from the renderings here, from the White House, is expected to be about 90,000 square feet, much in the president's style, gold and crystal chandeliers, gilded Corinthian columns, coffered ceiling with gold inlays as well. They've wanted a ballroom at the White House for more than 150 years, but there's never been a president that was good at ballrooms. I'm really good on the first term. I said, if I get another shot at this, I'm gonna do a ballroom. I was pretty busy in the first, cause I was running the country. What? Then what are you doing this time? Why are you describing the duties of your current job in the past tense? In the first term I was busy running the country, but now I'm fully checked out, and I'm like a high school senior, who already got into college. I'm falling asleep in class, and saving up my energy to plan this incredible prom. Also for senior prank, you guessed it, I went on the roof. Also it's a 4-year term, and you're not even through the first year. This is how entitled Trump is. He's a checked out freshman, but I have to go back to this. They wanted a ballroom at the White House for more than 150 years, but there's never been a president that was good at ballroom. Well, we've never had a president who's good at ballrooms. Because we don't need a president who's good at ballrooms. If we wanted a ballroom, we could just hire someone to build one. If I heard the White House had mice, I wouldn't vote for a president who was good at extermination or, a cat. I just assume as president, you could get someone in there and do it for you also. I'm not an architect, but it seems to me like ballrooms, like the easiest room just has to be like big and empty. If you want to impress me, design an escape room. Or one of those rooms that makes you look big, and your friend look tiny. Look, I'm no history expert, but I don't remember it ever being a problem that our presidents weren't good at ballrooms. I watched a ton of those Ken Burns documentaries, but I don't remember Ulysses S. Grant ever sending a letter to his wife that said, "Dearest Julia, now that I've won the Civil War, I aspire to complete my greatest achievement yet, building a ballroom, yet I feel as though it is a task beyond my mega skills. How high should the ceilings be? What is the best kind of wood to dance on?" These are the questions that vex me. I fear I will not be remembered as the president who oversaw Reconstruction, but rather as Ulysses S. Grant. The S stands for sucks at ballroom, but there's one more part of that clip that I want to revisit. On the first term, I said, if I get another shot at this, I'm gonna do a ballroom. That's what you took away from your first term. You left the country in ruins. There was a pandemic, a crime wave, a recession. You didn't want to fix any of that. You're like a drunk driver who walks away from a car crash thinking, if I ever get a chance to drive a car again, I'm gonna get a bumper sticker that says, "My other ride is your mom." I swear to God, but Trump only cares about chandeliers and rooms that can fit chandeliers, as evidenced by the fact that he often has no idea what his own government is up to. For example, when he illegally bombed Iran, he had to be informed by reporters that his own intelligence director had said Iran was not developing a nuclear weapon. What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are. At this point, well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that? Your director of national intelligence, Tony Gabbard. She's wrong. I love how he asked, who in the intelligence community said that? And the answer is the director of national intelligence. Who did he think they were gonna say? Was it that intern Trevor? Because don't believe a word Trevor says. Also, why hasn't he fired Chelsea Gabbard? Because being wrong about whether Iran is building a bomb seems like a major problem for someone whose job it is to gather intelligence. What is she right about? She always knows which streamers have which shows, and if I say I'm hearing a lot about 9 Perfect Strangers, is that on Netflix? She jumps right in. She says, "Sir, that's a Hulu show and it's saving me a lot of time. It really is, 'cause sometimes on Netflix you enter the show and it fills in the show, and they don't have the show." Very cruel when Netflix does that, and we are gonna be looking into it. Then there was the time a reporter had to explain to Trump what his FBI director was doing, and Trump couldn't even understand. His own conspiracy theory nonsense, burn bags of Russian gate materials, and we'd love to get your thoughts on that. You said what, burn bags of Russian gate materials? I don't know that I don't know. I don't know what you mean by that statement. Say bags full of Russian gate, a burn bag. I thought you said appointed them in the burn bag. No, he was getting excited, because it would be so fun to know someone named burn bag, 'cause then you could write their name using emojis. A little fire for burn, a little briefcase for bag. What up, burn bag? This is the best. I wish all my friends were emoji nouns. And then on Wednesday, Trump was asked about his health secretary. And men in black skin suit, RFK Jr.'s decision to cancel $500 million in contracts for vaccine development, and again, Trump seemed to have no idea what the reporter was talking about. You were the driving force behind Operation Warp Speed, these mRNA vaccines that are the gold standard. Now your health secretary is pulling back all the funding for research. He's saying that the risks outweigh the benefits, which puts them at odds with the entire medical community and with you. What is going on research on what into mRNA vaccine? Well, we're gonna look at that. We're talking about it. What do you mean you're gonna look at it? It's already done, for a guy who watches cable news all day. You sure seem caught off guard by the news. What else is on your schedule for the days before these major decisions are made? I'd like to talk about vaccines, but unfortunately, we have meetings all day about a new sun deck we're building on the roof of the White House. Very exciting. We've never had a president who was good at grottos before, but now we do. That's why I was on the roof the other day, making weird hand. I was describing the shape of the Playboy bunnies I want to invite to the White House grotto. You need the Playboy bunnies because without them, it's not a grotto, it's just a wet cave. Trump went on in that answer to say, we're on to other things. So what else is the administration up to that's so important it takes precedence over making vaccines? We take you now to the moon, where the Trump administration has a new plan to build a nuclear reactor. Acting NASA Administrator Sean Duffy is set to announce the agency's fast-tracking plans to build a nuclear reactor on the moon. We want to start bringing assets to the moon for future astronauts when they get there, and then turn on our energy source. And again, this is so important. The moon is complicated, and what's great about Donald Trump is he doesn't live in a box. He doesn't have to play by any rules. Yeah, Trump doesn't play by the rules, like rule number 1 at NASA: don't blow up the moon. Also, what do you mean the moon is complicated? Thank you, gym teacher, who's covering science class for the afternoon. Sound like you're describing a messy relationship with an ex. Yeah, the moon is complicated, like, first he's waxing, then he's waning, and it's like, make up your mind, dude. Plus it's always been hard because, we're long distance, so the Trump administration doesn't think it's important to make vaccines. But they are building a ballroom at the White House, and a nuclear reactor on the moon. But what about the number one thing voters elected Trump to fix? Inflation. Prices keep going up, and inflation is actually accelerating, thanks in part to Trump's tariffs. So what can Trump say to ease Americans' concerns about rising consumer costs? I watched this group of people on CNN and MSNBC too. The same thing when they say, well, costs have gone up. Costs haven't gone up. They've gone down. Well, costs have gone up. Great, he's doing new characters now. What was the name of this fictional guy you saw on MSNBC? Oh, was it the man named Burn Bag? Yeah, not a real dude, and then Burn Bag. My guess is Trump doesn't know or care what's happening with consumer prices, because he's so distracted by the scandal of the Epstein files, which is tearing apart his MAGA base. He flew into a rage again on Wednesday when he was asked about it. The whole thing is a hoax. It's put out by the Democrats, and that's just a way of trying to divert attention to something that's total bullshit. What language do you whisper secrets to Jeffrey Epstein with that mouth? But of course it's not bull. It's not bull according to Trump's own attorney general, who told him he's in the files, or the FBI, which redacted his name. and assigned hundreds of agents to flag that name in the files. In fact, the issue has been so explosive for Trump and his MAGA base that his closest confidants have reportedly planned on holding a secretive meeting to discuss it. Just moments ago, CNN reported that tomorrow Vice President J.D. Vance will host the White House Chief of Staff, FBI Director Attorney General, and Deputy Attorney General, for an evening of discussion and strategy. The goal, to have a unified response to the Epstein situation. And if I know one thing about MAGA conspiracy theorists, is that they won't have any follow-up questions about a secret cabal of government officials holding a private meeting to orchestrate a cover-up of an elite sex trafficking ring, led by a billionaire, who died in prison under mysterious circumstances. Case closed. Case closed. So Vance had planned on holding an FBI strategy meeting, which Trump seemed to find out about, while standing next to Vance. Mr. President, is the Vice President Vance hosting a gathering this evening to talk about how to respond to the FBI situation? Is he working on what is he posting? Some kind of gathering of top advisors this evening to talk about how to respond to the, I don't know. I could ask you that question. I don't know of it, but I think here's the man right here. Probably a good move by Vance to not tell Trump about the cover-up dinner. He's such a bad secret keeper. He'd be out in front of the cameras 10 minutes later, saying, "We're doing a very strong cover-up on the Epstein. You want to hear about Epstein after this." I can tell you, which is a shame because he could really throw a party. I'm sad he'll never see the ballroom, never see the grotto, but a lesson Vance is going to eventually learn, a lesson everyone around Trump eventually learns, that no matter how much you try to appease Trump or suck up to him, eventually he's gonna betray you. Just take Apple's CEO Tim Cook, who appeared with Trump at the meeting, in the White House, and gave him a gift to curry favor at the White House. Apple CEO Tim Cook presenting Trump with a glass and gold gift, made in the U.S. Tim Cook puts on the Resolute desk, a 24-karat gold trophy for the president. The base is 24-karat gold, the top of it that we're looking at right now. I mean, how heavy is that? It's engraved for President Trump. It's a unique unit of one and it's 24-karat gold. I'll take the liberty of setting it up. Wow, there we go, congratulations. Not only is it embarrassing for Cook, but I guarantee you Trump won't remember what that is, or who gave it to him within a week. He's gonna turn that thing on its side, and use it as a plate for one of his Big Macs. So you think Tim Cook would have bought himself some goodwill from Trump, but for some reason, Trump decided to make fun of him just moments later. I want to thank Tim Cook. He's a great man, a visionary, a businessman, just about every quality you can have, other than athleticism. I don't know about that. I'm looking at him, I'm not 100% sure. You're making fun of his physical appearance. Did you also put a kick me sign on his back? Trump burned him so hard, he's gonna have to change his name from Tim Cook to Burn Bang. Again and again elites have folded to Trump. Regular people, however, are showing much more backbone, through massive nationwide protest town halls, where Republicans have been relentlessly booed by their own constituents. If you're in a position of power, just take a cue from them, and remember the lesson of Trumpism. No matter what you do to appease him, it won't work, whether you're Kelsey Gabbard, Tim Cook, or his own vice president eventually.